care. It's been a minute and a half. I think we can make it happen.
Nice.
This is why I need Josh here.
The first cutting room floor.
Well, kind of. Second start. Normally the false start is because I get a minute in the episode and have a brain fart and go, all right, and I just like start from the top again. And
That's fair.
Yeah, it's my own intuition. So
right.
whatever. This will be first official cut. Hell yeah. Proud of you guys. You guys finally made me cut something out.
We
This is
made it.
sick. I'm going to leave that part in. If we finally can see this, something got cut out. That's sick.
I love being a part of history. What can I say?
It's incredible, dude. I've been talking shit on here for months now. I've realized that like there's this is episode 38. Episode 38, something from everyone. I realized we have skipped over that. I'm here with Joe and Josh from CHAINTWIST. We'll get into that. I realized, this episode 38. Most of them have been about an hour. So you could listen to me talk for a day and a half, like full. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, that's been really bugging me lately. Of like I hope no one has done that yet, but like I've done that to other people's podcasts for sure. Like I've binged the whole
Just
thing.
binge watch everything
in 10
at once.
hours.
Oh, yeah,
just
absolutely.
Consume it all. And it was a wild thing of like, oh, that's a lot of me out in the universe. That's a really scary thing that like, what the hell have I said in 37 hours of talking? Like, oh, what has come out of my mouth? But hopefully something good today comes out. Episode 38, Joe and Josh from CHAINTWIST. Before we get into all the fun stuff today, what is happening in CHAINTWIST life? What is coming up? What is in the near future? Josh?
So last Thursday, just dropped the music video for Dead to Me, which we did with you, which I have so many thoughts about the whole process of that, so I can't wait to talk to you about it, because like just from the beginning, middle, and end of that whole thing, like I could go on probably for an hour talking with you about it, so I'm stoked about that.
That's about what we're aiming for. So hopefully we can do exactly that.
And then October 15th, we have a show at the Park City Music Hall in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I heard there's some other bands playing,
other
but
bands
I haven't heard anything about who's playing.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the
other bands
playing.
to be decided, but that is our next show currently. We have some things in the works, but like it's so hard to know, like with promoters, if anything's gonna happen. Like we were supposed to maybe play the Webster in like a week or two, that just kind of poof. So you never know. So we are trying to fill up our calendar dates, but as of like recently, those are the two solidified things: the music video, the show that I can actually confirm are like happening. You know?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't envy that. I always I joke that I run on band time. Like when I'm at music videos, like I'm always at the mercy of like, I need 6 people or 5 people, whatever, here to show up on time. Like someone's going to run late. And also like band people are oftentimes people who struggle in like a 9-to-5 scenario. They're more creative, they're more abstract. And so the idea of being on time is a very tough thing. And I'm like, that's me working with a group of 5. The idea of being a promoter and having to have 6 times that and getting it all sorted seems like such a nightmare to get sorted out. Like it's one of those jobs in the industry I look at and it's like, thank God someone does it and thank God people are good at it. But it seems so impossible to coordinate that many bands and not have someone have something come up or a car issue the week before or whatever could happen to a band.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy it. Even just like my day job, trying to sometimes coordinate between like 2 or 3 other people.
Yep.
And I'm like, can you just do it on your own and let me know?
Literally, yeah.
Don't let me make you do it.
Yep. Yeah. It is bullshit. But oh well, we're here now. Show's coming up. Go to that. Go to the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, music video just dropped for Dead to Me. Yeah, I think this is one of those reasons that I first started this podcast, because there's so many stories like this that I would have never had a platform to talk about. I never had a space to go through it with you guys and get your sense on it as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to day one. My first thought there is that you guys all meet on Discord, which I had never worked with before, but I thought it was a really interesting like modern band thing to like meet on Discord. Yeah. Is that like the primary way you guys communicate?
There's a reason why. There's a reason why because of that.
I think it's mostly my fault.
It's all because of Joe. Yeah. So we all have iPhones other than Joe.
Yep.
And we're all snobs and hate the green text and hate that things come in super slow. So we were trying to figure out a way of like, what can we do? And our last band, it was 2 and 2 on Android, iPhone. We used Messenger, and that was fine. But me and Ryan are very involved in like the streamer community on like Twitch and like various things like that. So Discord is the primary thing you use for that. So we're like, well, if we do Discord, we have all these tabs. We can keep everything lined up with shows that we have coming up, riff ideas, merch ideas, everything. And we're like, we all have Discord, we all have phones, we all have PCs, we can have it all intertwined. So that became the process. And then we did the one with you for the music video. We have one with Jay from Half-Hearted for, stuff and like what comes to marketing and stuff like that. So that's just kind of how we do now. I mean, we're in a Discord for all of like Western mass music, like promoters and stuff and bands being like, hey, we have a show in New York. There's like, each state has their own section.
I've never heard of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, they have a whole section for each state, and then like local shows, you'll post flyers that are happening in the area. There's one that's just like random chats. Like I think there's like a gaming section
There
where
is, yep.
people will be like, "Oh, who's playing like this new game?"
That's really cool. I've never heard of that.
There's one that's like post your pet, and people just post pictures of their dogs and cats and stuff like that.
There's photographers in there too for like, hey,
yeah.
we need a photographer for this show kind of thing, like willing to pay. Like, yeah, it's everything like that. So I think Discord is like, I think the pandemic kind of like Discord became so big that this is just sort of like taking over like people going to Messenger and things like that, or just because now there's like WhatsApp, but I don't really like that.
Every
personally.
other country uses WhatsApp. My mom is from South America, which I've chatted about here before, but she's from South America, so a lot of our family is down there, and they all use WhatsApp. And then as I learned more about like Europe, like it seems like that's everywhere in Europe. Like WhatsApp is universal, and it's because of this iPhone Android problem. And the US is so iPhone centric compared to the rest of the world that like we get away with it and we can be snooty about it. But in the rest of the world, WhatsApp has become the thing that is Discord here. But it's a really interesting and modern thing, and I like that. All the different channels. It's a great like multi-medium platform. That I just thought was a really cool modern approach to a band that I never thought of before.
And it's free too, which is nice. So
and you're already on it, I think, is the other thing of like there's so many. I don't know. I'm sure there's all kinds of collaborative work platforms, but it's like we're not going to subscribe to some shit new and get this done. Like we need something that we're already comfortable with and already going to make happen. Interesting. What is this like Western Mass music thing? Like
the Discord?
Yeah, do you know who made it? Who's
so
like
that shout out Aaron Hibbert.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Power Up.
From Power Up.
Yeah.
They're a really good like ska metal punk band. We played a show with them like right before the world ended with our last band. Yeah. And somebody described them at the show.
It was me, by the way.
Was it you?
Yeah.
I just remember hearing someone describe it as like System of a Down with a horn section.
Yeah, that was me.
Wow.
And it was the greatest. And they're all fantastic people. Aaron Hibbert is like one of the nicest, most genuine people I've met ever.
Shout out, Aaron.
And he put together a whole Discord group of just like trying to cross promote. There's people in there that aren't even part of bands. They just want to like see flyers posted and know when shows are coming up.
Yeah.
Is there a way people could get access to this? Like how do you get invited to this? How does this become?
I don't know.
So
I know Aaron invited me to it at first.
Yeah, there was a Facebook group for it, and then there was decided that like let's just make it a Discord. So Aaron would be the person you'd have to go for, I guess, for the link, or if anyone wants to message me or Joan, we can invite you to it.
If you message either of us or the band Instagram or Facebook, I'll try to get you added to it. I think we can just like send a link and you just join it. I don't think as long as I don't think it's private or anything. You just need to have a link to find it.
Yep.
This is like a small cog in the bigger conversation of like, is it easier to be a musician now or 50 years ago? And I don't quite know how that like plans out because this is so accessible and it's such an easy way to get to shows as opposed to having to like go on a physical street and hand out flyers, and it's so direct to people. That's an interesting like approach to the problem. I don't quite know. I guess in your eyes, is like technology making your lives easier, or has it become hard? Because there's so many other bands doing it that feels hard to get eyes on a new band. Like if this is it's not your first time starting a band. Like how does this feel in the context of all that's happening?
I think for like communication wise, it's a lot probably easier now than it used to be. I mean, I obviously wasn't around before most of the internet things. But yeah, I think there's an argument to be made on both sides where like it can be easier like now you can find whatever music you want. You don't have to go to a record store and like actually buy a record or a CD or a cassette before you've ever heard the band. You've just like heard the name and you think the album cover is cool and the artwork is cool, so you buy it. But now it's like there's so much that I've even done it very recently where like I'll see a show flyer and I'll be like, oh, that's awesome. I really want to go to that. And then I'll forget about it a week later. Yeah. And then a week after the show happens, I'll be like, oh, that happened and I missed it.
There's
there's so much going on.
There's a conversation about quality of viewership that I think is really interesting there. And it's like where TikTok is a very interesting kind of new variable in this of like 1 million views on TikTok is not the same as 1 million views on YouTube or Instagram. And it's a really interesting process trying to convert all that. I'm laughing at myself because before the podcast we were talking about like cliche conversations that are easy to fall into, and this is the one I started 100%. I like stumbled out of an idea and wandered into this conversation.
No, but I mean I've thought about it too though, because my thing is even going back to like my first band, I don't remember what year it was, it probably would have been 2006 or 7, I guess. Like I would go to the local mall with our demo tape and like I would literally post like a MySpace bulletin being like, hey, I'm gonna be at the Holyoke Mall, giving away our demo tape or whatever. Like, if you see me, like, come out, say hi. I have them in my backpack kind of thing, right? Like, I think that as connected as we are with social media and I'm very like kind of anti social media. I'll be completely honest
Sure.
for you. But like as connected as we are, I think it almost like dilutes like the importance of what's in front of you. Because like I can scroll on TikTok, Instagram, and see 30 different band pages, right? And it's like I might click on one of them, or I might just be like, I really don't want to like care now. But like you go back to the 70s or something, you played a local show and you just had like good hype behind you, and there's an A&R rep there who's like, this band's great, cut them a record. And it's like that's how you got it. Even going back to like the first band stuff I was talking about on MySpace, finding like bands on there was so cool. I mean, you think of some of the bands that like are bigger now, like Forever the Sickest Kids was like a MySpace Records band. Like it's insane to me that how easy you could like find music and how big people actually got streams just being someone who was a basement musician compared to like now. I mean, if you don't have the top quality stuff, even if you do, you're lucky if you break even through anyone's radar.
And you have to be touring a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned going out and giving out physical flyers and stuff. Josh, by the way, I realized I have your levels here. I never offered to change anything. If you need anything louder or quieter.
No, I'm good. I'm
if
good.
life's good, we're good to keep going.
I'm good.
My train of thought there was handing out the flyers. My first like business strategy was handing out business cards, and it was the same problem you're describing of like I can scroll through Facebook all day and see all these shows, and in my version it's like I know you're seeing photos everywhere on Instagram. Like I'm not gonna break through in that market, so my strategy was to print out thousands of business cards, and literally I'd go to like a sold out Palladium show of 2,000 people, and my attitude in my brain was like literally no one's leaving here without me talking to them and giving them this piece of paper, and I joked like I probably annoyed a lot of people. I probably was a punisher to some degree of like the people. But my thing was like, yeah, you can scroll past me 100 times. But if every time you're at the Palladium, I walk up to you and say, hi, I'm here working. Here's what I do. One of the times you're going to look like the first time, probably not. The first time I'm just a crazy guy. But like by the third or fourth time you see me, it's like, oh, okay, he's still here. What is this? What is this? And I think it was an interesting kind of homage of me going back to the early days of like, yeah, Facebook it's oversaturated. It's a tough place to be. And there's still something to going with the old fashioned way of handing out physical papers or flyers and being in the mall and handing out CDs and the good old Warped Tour model of selling CDs in the parking lot. Hell yeah. Fun little detour. I need to do plugs also. I realized halfway through that. Dead to Me came out. Balance from Low came out last week. And then more music videos coming up that I haven't announced yet. But I realized I did like 4 videos in 10 days. Or I was talking about that at some point in the past. And these are 2 of them. And then a couple more of them are coming up. Let's get right into Dead to Me. Right, as talking about music videos that I've done in the past. The pre-pro I wanted to start with. So we got with the Discord, and this idea comes together that my quote here is that I went through like the initial notes that I take on the phone call. So as we said on the phone call or the Discord call here, I write notes. And as I went through them, the thing that stood out is that you guys asked for the video to be as chaotic as possible. And in hindsight, I was sitting there today going like, perfect. that one we made happen. And then the other piece here, I guess I'll pull the picture up. I was going to pull it up now. As we're talking about this chaotic video, in my brain, it was like, we need something to balance this chaos. I think the problem with chaos is like, if it's only chaos and it feels cluttered, and by adding in some kind of order, something to like ground us, then we can really appreciate the chaos and how messy that is. And then it was a question of like, well, what do we ground you in? And this idea of the salt flats came to me from a reference I saw that I was going to pull up if the laptop had cooperated, but oh well, I guess I'll throw it the old-fashioned way. But it was an interesting thing. Like I've always the nerd in me has been fascinated by this idea of like a lake died here, like water died here. Like of all the things that have lived in this planet, like this is a place where the thing that seems seemingly infinite and impossible to kill has found a way to die. And that struck me as a perfect place to like counteract you guys. Do you guys remember anything about that initial call, the initial idea, vision of what you were hoping for from this? Yeah.
I mean, so if I could kind of like say, like kind of go off a little bit too. So the funny thing about this is that Ryan mentioned it last time because I actually rewatched the podcast of him and Dan on here. So I could like see if there was any, like, I didn't want to like cross reference too much, but they talked about how we were like mostly DIY, and that's how me, Joe, and Ryan have always been. Feral, we did ourselves, right? And the main thing about us is that like we know what we want better than anyone else, right? Like how could someone else see into our brain better than we can?
Sure.
So when you're a kid growing up, when you think about like a music video playing on stage, like you're air guitaring in front of a mirror or something, like you're picturing like, okay, like you're going to be on this huge stage and there's going to be this like director and he's yelling cut and going all this stuff. And like, you're going to have like all these big
and
things,
trucks all around
it's
you.
Something. Yeah. Right. And it's a totally different experience. So like I had to get out of my own head working with you. Cause like the experience was great, but in my head, even being in my early 30s, I'm thinking like, it's going to be the glitz and the glam, it's this big thing, and it's not, you know? And it was like, when we had that call with you, and I was like, okay, like we're going to get like a storyboard, we're going to get all this stuff. And it's like, well, what do you guys want to do? I was like, what do we want to do? I was like, I thought you were going to tell us what we're going to do based on the song. So like, it was cool to like have to sit back for a second and be like, okay, what do we want this to sound like and how, or look like, and how can we best describe this to Peter so that he gets the vision, but he gets to put in enough of his own stuff where it's like a collaborative effort. Because we didn't want, like, if we wanted to just do it ourselves again, we would have just done that. But we wanted someone else outside our sphere to like give us an impression of like what they saw when they heard the song. That's why like when we work with Sean, like we want him there to be like, I hear what you guys are trying to do with the song, but I'm hearing this. What if you tried that instead? So the first call, I remember us just being like, we want to be chaotic. We want, maybe like, I don't care if this is like Inside Baseball or like, we want it very like Slipknot-esque and stuff. Like, I don't think it's a surprise that like we use influence for like music, like, you know, aesthetically, stuff like that. But we want it to be very chaotic, very like quick cuts. We wanted to show like based on our music, like that was like, but we also wanted there to be something more than just us playing there. But I remember the first call with you was basically like, is he gonna get it? Like that was the main thing. And you did get it, but it was just different from what I was expecting based on my own internal interpretation of what a music video with a pro director is basically. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that it's a tough thing to welcome someone else into something you've been doing yourself for so long. And I recognize, it was an interesting challenge for me of like, I want to make sure I'm almost like paying homage to things you guys have already done. Like, I don't want to come in and rewrite these history books and tell you guys what CHAINTWIST is. It's like, no, you guys have already figured that out. And for me as a director, it's an interesting question. It's interesting to hear your perspective on the other side of it of like, how much of this do I tell you what it is? Because to me, it's like, bands come to me and they ask for a video and I could just write the thing for you. But to me, it's like, I'm just going to be pulling out shit out of my brain. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, I want it to mean something. And for me to have it mean the most is getting some sense of, what's important to you guys? What does CHAINTWIST want from this thing? And then we can build from there. But this idea of like prescribing a music video to you guys.
Yeah, like you have a list of ideas that when someone comes to you, you're like, all right, I'm going to pick one of these and that's your music video.
And people have them. People do it. And I don't... it doesn't make sense to me, and I guess maybe the safer, easier way to talk about it is like through photo presets to me, where like I don't like using presets. I like editing it, and it's not that I have a lot of friends who use presets and use them very effectively, and it's great. And the drawback to me is like I want the experience of getting from A to B, and even if this path from A to B worked in the past, it's not going to work forever in the future. And by going from A to B more often, I'm going to get better at this and figure out other ways and little shortcuts here and there, and like this filter just prohibits me from learning. And I guess I look at treatment the same way of like when you guys come to me and give me a Slipknot reference or some My Ticket Home references, like as I watch those videos and consume stuff that I either hadn't before or in a different lens, because now you guys are giving me different feedback and different things to look for in this. Now it allows me to like enrich my own ideas and open up what I'm thinking. And it's like, oh, I never would have arrived at this treatment on myself, but I'm really happy we did. I think it came out great, but it needs someone else to like, get my ball rolling there. So it's cool. Joe, I know you were handling the camera in the past, if my memory's right.
I did all the video stuff for the most part. Like we would try to like trick camera shots to make it look like all four of us were there and someone was recording, but you're really only seeing three of us at a time. So a lot of it was like me setting up the lighting and setting up the shots and using my cameras and stuff like that. And then Ryan was doing all of the editing after the fact.
Do you feel like it was harder to let go? Like I know for Josh, I think you're talking about like creatively letting go, but you're like physically letting go of control here as well.
So, I mean, for me, it was relieving in a lot of ways, because when you took over like all that stuff, I was like, that's the stuff that I'm least comfortable with.
Sure.
Because like I only did video stuff to do those music videos. Like other than that, it was all just only photos, and we were just lucky that my cameras could do video pretty decently well. So like even when we were setting up for the Dead to Me video, when you were like, hey, we need to try to do this and this, I'm like, yes, please let me do, like I want to do like the creative behind the scenes, like building the set kind of stuff more than using the camera and like getting those shots.
That was fun. Shout out Audie. Her behind the scenes photos were so sick that day, and I enjoyed looking back through them and appreciating all that we got done that day. Like it was a long day, and it was a great day. We got a lot done that day, but it was fun to look back at her photos and kind of relive it all. So shout out her for coming through and making that happen. from there, we go from this initial meeting to the basement demo. So the first basement demo, and again, I wish I could pull it up. I guess I'll just pull up the clip and talk you through it. But I filmed it sitting right here, and I don't know if you guys remember this one, that I had like the red light like behind this light, and I walked over and filmed it and just filmed like a very rough sense of this red light moving. And that was kind of where we started. I guess I'll play that clip there. And then Dan and Ryan come over and we demo out like a very stale version of the music video. But it was fun to go back and watch today, as it's like, oh, that is very close to what we created. I was kind of happy. Like, I feel like a lot of times things grow and change, or I bite off more than I can chew and realize it in that moment. And so it's kind of nice to look back and be like, no, I actually kind of did what I said I was going to do, and it all went about how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. Actually, I just remembered too, technically we went with idea number 2, because there was the first idea, which was the Stranger Things like sensory deprivation tank like idea, like pitch black and everything with the black light like paint, which I still want to do a video at some point that's like the that is like that Stranger Things like tank view where like 11 just sees nothing but black, because I think that looks amazing. But yeah, I feel like that's just like a super high end like crazy idea I have. But yeah, 100%. No, but that's another thing too, is like having the initial idea of like what's gonna stick, like throwing it all against the wall, and it's like sometimes the simplest thing is the best idea. Like part of the thing with doing the video with you, and this is one of the reasons why we paid you, obviously, like it's not even just like the camera work of like, oh, he has expensive cameras. Like I never thought of, and again, I hope I'm not giving away too many secrets, but like the shots of like most of the main shots where whoever's primary, there's someone behind him in the foreground, just slightly out of focus, but it's like tricks of the trade of like, we weren't all playing at the same time in those shots. It was mostly just one or two of us, but like having that, like would never even have thought of that angle of like having someone, and this, most of the shots from Feral of like the killer or whatever, like those are ones I came up with, and that was all the collaborative efforts. Like you had multiple of us like filming it. I didn't really film too much of that one, but like it was mostly Joe and Ryan, but like I was coming up with a lot of like the killer angles, like no, like you got like choke him and do the things like that, and like that stuff is like, we were doing it so much on the fly of like, can we even do this on the camera kind of thing and make it look right? But like, I would have never thought like, hey, let's do this angle of someone in the foreground like that and make it look like there's so much more going on than it actually was. Like you're just basically zooming in on the one person and like they're staying still while like I'm in the background, like doing like spin kicks and stuff, I
appreciate that. I'm glad that worked out. That was one of those, I have no idea where that came from. And it was, I think, just my own brain being like, how do I be different? How do I do this different? And I think the original idea was just that like, putting the 5 of you guys in a room or 4 of you guys in a room just didn't make sense to me. Like it felt too stagnant. Of like, I know the song, I know how much energy we wanted to create. And somehow that was kind of where this idea started of like, I don't want to do that, but we don't want to do all just singles. That's kind of boring too. Like I want the context of the band. And we also talked that this is like it's an identity thing, right? It's not just about making something that looks cool. It's about making something that identifies CHAINTWIST, so that when you're at a show, people see you and go, oh, I know them from this thing online.
Yeah.
And yeah, somehow in there, in my wandering brains, I came up with this idea to like, stagger you guys so that there's one person in the foreground and one person in the background. I'm glad it worked out. My biggest concern there was on thinking about day of filming. Like I knew it was going to look cool, but I was nervous for you guys of like, normally we kind of work for an hour, then you pause for an hour, and you work for an hour and you pause for an hour. And this was a very weird process of like, you're up, you're down, one take, sit down. And how did that work out? Like, was it a tough thing to get up and down and make it happen, or did it feel kind of natural? What was the experience of filming in a way so abnormal?
I think for me, like I already don't have like a ton of energy on stage performing. So like anyone who sees us or has seen me play in a different band, like I kind of just like sit back and groove and I let everyone else do like the high energy. Like Josh is always jumping around, and Dan is like and Dan's like a great front man where he's always interacting with the crowd. He's the shoegazer. And I'm the shoegazer. Like,
Ryan's got hair, so that's a cheat code.
Exactly. It's a cheat code.
Ryan just headbangs a little bit while he plays drums and he's good. But like it was nice for me because I didn't have to like turn on the energy. Like it almost like filming music videos for me feels odd because like there's not a crowd, like there's no energy to feed off of in the room. So like only having to turn it on for like 5 minutes at a time and then take a half-hour break before I need to do it again, like is nice.
It's funny. I'm wired the exact same way. And I filmed a music video I've talked about here. It's like exactly where we're sitting, called Fear Eater. And it was me and a couple friends. One of my producer friends at the time wanted to write more songs, and I wanted to make more music videos. This is kind of early in our process. And so we collaborated and had a bunch of our friends come over, and I played guitar in the video, and I couldn't play the song well, but I could play it enough to fake it for a video. And it was a really good learning experience for me. And what I learned from that is that I'm like you, where I don't have 30 minutes of doing this, but I can do it for 5 minutes. You just got to let me recharge and like disappear for it. So it's interesting to hear that, yeah, someone else works that way. I thought it was just me being a fish out of water and not into the band world, but it's interesting that it's like, no, that's one of the options of how this can go for people. For you then, as the counterpart, the high energy, the spin kicker.
I could have went all day.
Yeah.
I'm a ball of energy anyway. Though,
Yeah.
like every Sunday I play like 6+ softball games a day, like in 3 different cities. Like I'll travel to each one. So like I love it. I love being active. Like that's why when you asked me to do like the light or whatever in the video, I was like, yes, I don't want to be staying still. I want to be like constantly moving, which from trying to get me to sit still on an X on a floor, it's really hard for me to do that because I just want to go. And that was another thing too about the video is like, because this was the first song that we were like, this is us. Like this is how we want to be presented. Like this is after like the growing pains of beginning of a band. We're like, let's pay for Peter to do the video. Let's pay for like Jay to work with us and stuff like that. So for us, like I wanted that video to show how chaotic we are on stage because like this is the best bet. If you haven't seen us play it, like this is how you're going to see us. And like what we're doing in that video is that's actually still a little bit tame from what we do on stage, but like that's a good representation.
That was me saying, hey, stay in frame.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an X on the the ground, stay on the X, and I'm like, but Peter,
I need to move.
Can I make the font bigger on the X?
Can the X be like twice as big? No, it was cool. I mean, the green screen stuff was like that was the first time ever doing green screen. So like that was being like, oh, I can't make ripples on the floor. Not that I want to, but like I'm trying so hard to like, okay, I gotta move just my upper body. Like this is so weird, but like no, it was a cool experience. So
the green screen is a great segue there. The one little piece I wanted to touch on, the big piece. I had a laptop that I wanted to set up here, and it didn't quite work out. The big piece here that I'll play on the screen now, I guess, is that I sent a demo to you guys where like it was one of those things that I was working so hard on, and time was so tight. Where like I was just busy with stuff, and I work on this thing, and I just needed it to be done that day, and I finally export it, and it's Unreal Engine 5 exports. They're long and annoying, and finally it comes out and just fucked up. Like just not at all what I thought was going to happen.
Into all of our memories.
I saved it. It's on my computer. I'm never letting it go.
I totally forgot about it. And then the other day we were hanging out with some of the Half-Hearted guys, and Jay pulled it up, and it was like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was the funniest shit ever, and I'm glad it worked out. It was also one of those weird moments of like, I know this is unprofessional, but like I think it's funny. But,
like,
it's
really good.
It's this weird line of like, I don't have to follow corporate rules, right? Like I can send you this thing that is objectively bad, and if I had a boss, he would have said, don't do that. But there's this line as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed person, where it's like, oh, I can do that. And it's always this weird line of like, there's an alternate universe where you guys saw that and said, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And in my brain, it's like, I'm not worried about rigging a skeleton. Like I don't need to do that for what you guys are doing, and I trusted that you guys could see through that and laugh at this thing. But it is this weird line of like, how casual do I be and how formal do I have to be, and where does this thing lie? So I'm glad that worked out. Gets us to the green screen stuff. My line with the green screen stuff is always that like, I think I should never film anything that's not green screen ever again. And I don't like that idea. Like I like filming physically, and I think it's fun too. But my logic there is that like the Dead to Me band performance shots, let's say, like I love how those came out. I'm very happy with how those come out. In an alternate universe, if I had done that digitally, I could then look back at it and say, hey, what if the light in the back was flashing? Hey, this light didn't hit Ryan right here. I want the light to hit Ryan. I can now move the light to hit Ryan. Like there's this infinite level of enhancement to me that's possible in CG that you just can't do physically. It's just, there is something beautiful in what happens physically is the only thing that can happen, but it's limiting, right? I can't come home and change what we did that day. Yeah. But I also get that it's kind of stale for you guys to film on his green screen. Like, right? It's not as fun to film with your band members and have the lights and like look cool. Like as a band, are you hoping to film on green screen more again? Or is it like no, we'd like to do this practically. It's more fun that way. Like how do these two things like weigh for you guys?
I think it depends on what the shot is supposed to be. Like, obviously, like you did some of Half-Hearted, I think, where they're like up on a mountain and like way in the distance, like they're little tiny in the frame. Yep. And like it's almost unrealistic to try to just do that for a band music video. Yeah. Like unless you're on like a Metallica level of you can pay to have someone sit at the bottom of this mountain while you guys take a helicopter ride up. Yep. But like for the stuff like in a room with the flashing light behind you, like there's almost something like magical about having the light is actually moving and interacting with like the lens. If there's a lens flare that happens, and
yeah, I guess my argument is like that's all recreatable. That's all digital. And like if the lens flare happens, I don't know if there was a time in this video, but like there are times where a lens flare happens and it's like, hey, don't do that yet. Like I wish that it's a physical interaction, so you can't change it. But it's like, yeah, if it was all digital, I could change all those things.
I'm behind on that technology. I didn't know that.
My favorite part of Unreal Engine or learning 3D stuff has just been that like as we build the salt flats for you guys to play in, right? Like as I'm designing the camera there, I'm basically flying a drone around an imaginary world and using, real camera measurements in terms of like focal length and camera bodies. Like I can simulate my exact camera and I can simulate any lens in the universe. So it's a really good like creative exercise for me so that when we do end up in the physical room, it's like, oh, I've already wandered through this space with infinite possibilities. So I am now much quicker to go from like, oh, I know this is the option I want to choose. But yeah, the flip side is like, if we just do it digitally, I still have all these infinite possibilities. I don't have to choose right now.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line of like, yeah, I think it's stale. I think it's boring. I think it would make my life hard. I think it's a lot less fun of a day. I think green screen is very tedious and hard, but like there's an argument, like every warehouse we film in, like we could just make it bigger or smaller or taller or skinnier or brick or shingles. Like it's infinite. And I don't quite know how I feel about it, where it takes, a lot of the magic away, but if it's about making the best thing, then that might be the best thing.
Yeah. Well, as someone like me who's like a huge movie fan, so like I will always fight for practical over like CGI.
Do you mean specifically in like horror movies with like gore and stuff?
Anything, but definitely horror movies. Because like for me, I will always say an 80s horror movie with an actual costume of a monster, like a werewolf or something, is infinitely creepier than something CGI where I can immediately tell it's fake.
I watched Cocaine Bear last night and I was really impressed with the bear.
But like that for me, like even seeing like squibs, like blood splatter, like I think you can tell when it's like a real blood splatter, then it's just like, this is digital. But at the same time, there's some shots you just can't do practical. Like you're not going to have access to certain things, like certain locations where like sometimes you just got to do digital. I think it all depends, like Joe was saying on the shot, if it's tasteful or not. If it's not tasteful and it's like, for a lack of like trying, and it's more so like what makes it easiest on me, then I think you're losing the passion for it. But if you're doing it strictly because like I know this is gonna be the best way to do this, even though it's not technically practical or it's not digital or whatever, then I think it's completely warranted. It really all depends. Like, 'cause like the low video you did, and I'm gonna blank on the song, but like where they had like the water and like the boat and the whale. I loved that video. Thank you, that was when you said we were gonna do CGI stuff, I immediately was thinking that video. It was like, oh, like that water scene was fantastic. So like if that's something that we're gonna be interested like in doing, then like I'm sure we can make it look something like, coherent enough where like this isn't like a, it doesn't take you out of it by seeing it. You know what I mean? And that was my main concern of doing CGI and stuff in general, was like, for how raw of a band we like to be, is it going to be something that like takes you out of it? But if we didn't have the salt mine stuff, then I think you're kind of hurting the video of it just being, again, another performance, which, okay, let's just record a live video then at that point. And it kind of defeats everything of doing this production.
Yeah, I think I always have this feeling when I'm filming events that like I need to go sit in the parking lot for 5 minutes in the middle of the day and just like forget about all these lights and all these things and all these people and just look at trees and remember like this is what the earth is, and then go back and appreciate all the stuff. And like that's kind of how I looked at the salt flat scenes here. Like we have all the chaoticness, but if it's only the chaos, like you almost forget how chaotic it is, and it just is something. But if we can make you breathe for a second, then when the chaos hits, you feel it again, and it doesn't become just a numbness to you.
Yeah.
As you were talking about the La Pelle du Vide video, it's an interesting one. That's an interesting one to me because that water, doing fluid simulations in 3D is really tough because you have to simulate each water molecule hitting itself, right? So the key to 3D is trying to simplify computer stuff and make it as low quality as possible while still getting the job done, so that you're not stuck rendering for a week and you're just rendering for a night instead. So that water is actually it's a flat plane that just has like a wave modifier on it. So as I'm working on it, it's a really weird thing that like as the boat hits the wave, the water doesn't wrap around it. It just like goes through a physical. So there's little things you can see in that. But it always strikes me as like as you watch stuff and see the CG, it's like it's it's a broken version of reality that isn't accurate. Like the underwater, like the particle dense is just fog, and it's like it's the same as fog above water, but because you have this thing above it and it's blue, like your brain says water.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting game to me of like manipulating reality and creating reality without actually making the water and making the fog underneath. The other piece there was, I don't know. Just that we can't like go to the salt flats. That for us it was an easy solution of like, we can't fly across the country, and it would be great to go there, go down to Argentina and make it happen.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Unfortunately, not in the cards for us.
Yeah.
Is it fun to perform on green screen? What is it like to perform on green screen? It feels like it must strip a lot of the excitement away from it.
I mean, for me, it didn't really feel all that much different.
Yeah.
Because some of the videos that we've done ourselves are kind of like, I think one of them that we did and then scrapped, like I bought like a big black backdrop that just went off the back and on the ground so that everything was just like a seamless background. And like it just kind of felt like that. Like you're standing on something, could be a carpet, but it kind of moves a little bit more than a carpet when you move your feet. Yeah. You just have to like be a little bit more aware.
It's a weird thing because that to me is like the science aspect of the band stuff, and I don't want to confine you guys too much. It's always a game of like, I need you to stand on the X, but if all you do is stand on the X, then I've ruined you. Like I need some amount of Josh still in this. And it's always an interesting game. So I'm curious to hear what it is like to be on the green screen and to be the one in the spotlight there.
It was tough. It was tough to move just upper body and like and feel kind of like restrictive of like what I could do, because oddly enough, going crazy when I was like, to people, like if you look in the background enough, you might see me doing some weird stuff or whatever, but like that was very easy for me to do. And you could have had one person in there that I didn't know, or you could have 50, whatever, and I would do the same thing. But standing there and being restrictive actually made me more self-conscious than moving around and like going crazy.
It forces you to think.
Yeah, because I was like, it's like my feet are planted. It's awkward because now I'm like, I don't normally move like this, so now I'm like swaying the top of my body. I'm like, I feel like I should be in a Jackson 5 video now, kind of like what I'm doing sort of thing. And like now I don't have the stand in front of me, so now I'm lip syncing. I'm like okay, like so now I'm like Wham or like a bit like that, you know, like now, you know. So it was for me it was a little weird, but not bad, just weird.
That's always my fear though. Is like the part of what I'm trying to do is give you guys the best experience on set. And I think for all that it is worth in my brain to only film green screen, it's like, no, because of that. And it's that is still uncomfortable and it's hard to get around, and there is no way to get around it. Like it's much more science than it is art, and the band stuff is art, and we can have fun with that. And when it gets to science, it's like, there's not really a lot of room for fun. It's about doing the thing right. And that is, it strips a lot of the beauty out of it. I don't know. It's an interesting 2 cents here where I think this line gets blurry. My note that I wrote down here, I believe it was Dexter. And I always get scared making up facts on this show because if I say it's a wrong show, but it was a TV show and it's filmed in like have you guys seen Dexter? Are you familiar? Like
I've watched a little bit of it. Yeah, I know the setting.
So it's filmed in like a suburban neighborhood, and it's like grown in trees and the white colonial houses, like the place where the wife lives, the girlfriend, whoever the person that Dexter's with. That neighborhood, when they filmed it, was like a brand new development and had no trees. And so in post, they add in all the trees to make it feel homey and cozy. And that's a really weird line of CG of like, no one ever watched that and thought that like the trees mattered, but it really does matter. It'd be a very different show if you're watching that and they're in a brand new colonial development and they're the new guys on the block. Whereas when you watch the show and it's in a grown-in neighborhood, it creates a homey feeling. It creates a feeling that wouldn't be there. But it's like those trees are something we don't acknowledge as fake. When we're watching the show, we think of CG as the green screen. We think of it as the salt flats. We think of it as the Marvel and the superhero. And it's like, no, it's enhancing everything we think is real. Yeah. And that's also where it gets blurry of like, you can only enhance reality so far before you just scratch it and like start fully digital. And I don't quite know where that line is. I don't know.
Well, the new Netflix One Piece adaptation, like they built all those ships, but everything around it completely fake. Yeah. But it's there to enhance it. And the fact that they made the ships makes it all look so much better and actually feel like you're like experiencing like, I don't know if Pirates of the Caribbean was.
I'm sure it was.
But you know what I mean? Like it looks like it. And I haven't watched the show really yet, but I love special effects stuff. So like I was watching all the behind the scenes stuff of that show, and when I heard they were building the actual ships for it, I was like, that's gonna make it so much better if I watch it, because like you can tell when it's fake. Even if they just do at least half the ship,
Yep.
you know, the main section, it's like there's something to that, you know.
Yeah, because I think I was watching all those like Disney Plus like behind the scenes of their movies, and I think Pirates of the Caribbean, a lot of like the wide shots of the ships are like scale models that they built. Yeah. So it's like that you're playing with reality where it is a physical thing, but it's a scale model, but you film it correctly and it looks like a full size ship.
Yep. That idea with playing with reality, I guess, is a perfect segue back to Dead to Me, as I took us way off course here into the nether realm. Playing with reality was also, as we have the two bands in front of each other, we had a macro lens to like really fuck up the perspective between you guys. The one other thing that I think that I didn't quite realize I was doing here that worked out very well for us is that there's a ton of like match cuts hidden in there. So if like Dan's in the foreground and the background was Josh in one scene, let's say, and Ryan in another scene, like I can cut between those two takes, and it creates a really weird thing where like Dan barely changes and the background changes. And it ended up being something that I used all the time in the video, and it happens so frequently. And it's these weird cuts that like I feel like I don't even notice them when I watch them, but as I like go frame by frame, it's like, hang on, that one from Ryan and Josh. And it was a really interesting like luxury to have, where normally in a video is an issue of continuity, and this was like everything was perfectly continuous, and it allowed me a lot of freedom in editing to play with this and figure out exactly who I wanted to cut to and let it all happen. Yeah. So it's kind of a fun luxury to have there.
Can I actually give you your flowers too on something about intention and detail on the takes, which I thought was really funny. So live and in the recording, I have backing vocals behind like all of Dan's main vocals in the verses. Live, I only do them every now and then, like for certain parts specifically, just because like I got to be moving around too and stuff. And one take, I remembered instinctually, just like because I was playing it like I'm playing a show. Yeah. I did my like backing vocal on one take, only one, and you found that take and put it in the video. And every time it came up, I was like, "Okay, can I swear?"
Please.
I was like, "Motherfucker!" I was like, and the first thing I did was text Ryan. I was like, "Dude, that one backing vocal part I did on that one take, he found it and put it in." And he's like, "He did?" I was like, "Yeah, he did." I'm like, one take, 1 of 5, whatever it was.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, that it's in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, he actually combed through every single take and found that one time I did and was like, "Oh, that's different. Let's put that in."
It's I appreciate that. I'm very glad you noticed that. I genuinely don't know exactly what you're talking about.
I was gonna say Peter's gonna come in and just be like, "Yeah, I just saw that clip and I used it."
Exactly that. But I appreciate it because it is a process of going clip by clip by clip, and like in a video like that where there's so many cuts, like that process becomes so mind-numbing by like 2 minutes in, where every half a second I'm cutting, and so every half a second I'm going through 10 takes, figuring out which one, going back to square one, and then it's like, oh wait, was actually the piece before this that's wrong, and so you go back through those 10 takes, and like it's a really, really slow process of assembling the half pieces of a second at a time and going through. So I'm glad it all paid off.
I'm gonna send you the timestamp from the video later on Instagram and be like, this moment.
I appreciate that. What was the other piece here? I don't know. That was all great. I don't know. I hate having my notes here because I look at them. Normally my notes like off to my side and it like allows me to like ignore, and I feel like I'm looking at them too much, and it's driving me nuts because I don't want to like it's a weird balance of like I need to like plan something so I have some sense of structure and some sense of where I'm going next, but I also don't want to be married to this fucking words.
Yeah.
We filmed Dead to Me. I think with the last piece I want to chat about, the last piece that's really interesting to me, is as I sent you guys the first draft of this, it didn't end up being the draft that comes out finally. I think it's the simplest way to put it. And in my version of events is I think I just got overzealous, and it was one of those chances that I took. And I went with like we had like a glitch effect. I guess would be a simple thing in the end. The more formal term, I guess, would be that it was pixel sorting at the end and it was data moshing to start. But to me, it was one of those chances that I took, and it's like, this is gonna work or it's not gonna work. And it turned out it didn't work. It turned out it was a little exaggerated. I was curious. I felt bad for you guys of like. We talked about how it was hard to bring someone else in. We talked about how it was challenging to like open the doors and bring someone else in. And you get the first draft and there's like a smudge all over all this other good stuff we've done. And I felt bad. Was that like a discouraging moment? Was it a scary moment? Were you still confident that was going to get fixed? Like what was that first draft like to receive?
So for me, just kind of knowing like like, yeah, we told you like the data moshing thing because like that's what we saw in a video, and Dan said that's what it was. And like that probably is what it was.
Yeah.
But like what we each had in our head was like something slightly different, and all of them are like a weird different name for that specific type of artifact that happens in video.
Yeah.
It was just trying to figure out the right one, because you heard what we said and you did exactly what we said. And we didn't say the right thing.
It was one of those, I laugh, you're very aware of how bad my music taste is. And that was like a version of it of like, I like weird stuff. Like just something about that over the top is so exciting to me and interesting to me. And that was one of those of like, I know I'm going to over the top here, and it's either going to align with their version of over the top or it's not quite going to align. And as I watched it back today, and as my own curiosity, it was like, oh yeah, they were right. I was definitely overzealous. And like, I took a shot and you hit some, you missed some. And yeah, I'd hit my shots to that point, thankfully. So it wasn't too much of a hiccup in the end. Same for you. Was it kind of were you able to look past that, I guess? Or was it something that like disrupted everything?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at it, and again, like I knew Dan had worked with you previously, but, and I'm not trying to like, get credit here. Like I was the one though who was like, I want us to spend the money on you to like do this next video.
Yo, shout out Josh.
So like, I was the first one. I was like, so like Dan, he came in with the demo of Dead to Me.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, I was like, dude, this is like I love this. Immediately love this. I don't even think we need to like change anything of this kind of thing. I was like, I have a few ideas, like everyone did, but like it was there. And when we finished it with Sean, I was like, we need to go all out on this one. If we're gonna do it, this needs to be the one we do it at, because the other 3 songs we released, I love them, but it was still us, like I said before, like kind of figuring out what we want to do.
Yeah.
This was the first one where I was like, oh, this is what we've been trying to do. So I immediately wanted to like spend the money on like a director, and I was like, okay, you've done Half-Hearted, you've done Low, and like I like everything you've done, we should do you. And Dan obviously had the experience with you, so he vouched for you. And like I said, me getting through my own head of like after we talked, and I was like, I feel like there should be like a storyboard or something, right? He should be giving us like an entire treatment. Once I got past that and was like, okay, we're like doing this differently, then it went to the next stage of it. So when I saw the first version of it, I was like, this isn't what I want, but I feel like we've had enough communication where when we say it's not what we want, it's not going to be like, well, this is what I did. Congratulations. Because at that point too, we had only, we paid the first upfront fee. It wasn't completely done. I'm like, okay, we're not paying you until it's finished. Like that's the agreement. So like, I don't see how like we're cool with each other. We're friends, but like we're also respectful of each other's like business. And there's no reason to like be stuck in one version, because like, we also said, take your shot. We wanted you to go for it. And then like, but it just wasn't exactly what we wanted. I mean, Sean has given us mixes where we're like, maybe this isn't exactly what we want. And then we collaborate, it ends up different. And it's how we want it. So I wasn't nervous. I was just more so like, that might be a little much.
I feel that. It's one of those, every video has some version of that. And it's always this weird thing of like, I don't know how to frame it, right? Because if I send you that video, if that video is too far, but if it was closer to like 50-50, let's say closer to like maybe, then there's this weird thing where if I send it to you saying, hey, I'm not sure about this, then it opens the door to a conversation where if I just send it to you saying like, hey, I love it, then there's something in your brain that goes, oh, he's proud of this. But it's like, I don't want to send you something that I'm 50-50 on. No. So it's this weird thing that like, as I'm sending that, I know it's a shot in the dark, but I don't want to send it saying, hey, I took a chance here, because then it's like, well, he doesn't believe in it. Why should I believe in it?
Yeah.
So there's always this weird line of it's like, yeah, I kind of knew it was crazy and it made sense, but it's not worth. Yeah, it's not worth it's not smart to me to frame it that way. It's like I wouldn't have sent it if I didn't believe in it. Like in hindsight, thank goodness, my beliefs change. We all grow and change. But like, I wouldn't have sent it if at the time it wasn't something I was confident in. But you also, it's like, I knew what I was doing. Like, you hit some, you missed some. It's always an interesting balance there. And I'm sure as a band, it's the same thing of like, you put I guess for you guys, it's putting out the song, and it's like, we don't quite know. We think we did a good thing. We think people are going to like it, but we'll find out Thursday at midnight how they really feel about it.
Yeah, that was the thing. If you had said you loved it, then it puts us in a perspective of like, can we be honest with them? And at the same time,
we don't want to shit all over this thing that you're super proud of.
But also it would make us question like, okay, if this is his version of being like amazing, then we're way off. But then if you say you're not sure, then I'm questioning your confidence in this take anyway. And then I'm like, did he put all the effort into it? So it's better to be neutral. It's hard. Like, it's the same thing as I think Dan or Ryan talked about it when they were on here. We're like, it's hard to give something away to someone that might not be completely done, because you're asking them to see the vision in your head and they're not in your head. So like they always dog on me for like, oh, you guys so hyped to like hear this demo that you might be writing, and then you never send it. It's like, because I don't want to send it halfway, because then I don't want you guys to like put ideas to it yet that like it might not be where I want to go.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to send it like incomplete where like it's, you know, like, I don't know, there's something about like putting something that you've made out into the world that if you don't feel like the actual vision of it is complete, then you're worried about the judgment of it based on an incomplete idea. And like, so I get it, because it's like, you know, you put something out there and you're like, this is what I think is going to be cool. But if you're too overconfident, then you look like a jackass. And if you're not confident enough, then you seem like, okay, well, like, why are you sending this to me? Why do you want me to see this if this isn't what you truly believe in?
Yeah.
It's a weird give and take of like anything, like you creating music video is the same thing as us making music. It's like some sort of art form. You're putting something out there. You're putting the idea of the salt mine. We didn't have that idea. So if people shit all over that idea, then it's like, well, this is what I created and wanted to give to the table. If people love it, then it's like, awesome. Like, it's the same thing as social media, like that sense of gratitude. You put a photo out there. If it doesn't get a lot of likes, it's like, I failed. But it's like, it could be a beautiful photo, but because it didn't get a lot of attention, it's like, oh, I failed. I got to tweak it now and do it to what's going to get me likes, which then dilutes the art. So like, it's a vicious cycle.
It is. Last thing there, the salt flats gets weird. I wanted to have like a big shadow that was bigger than you guys, and I quickly realized that like shadow means sun means bright means colorful is wrong. So then it was like, well, I want a dust storm, but that means then there's no sun, so there's no shadow, and that was a weird like little dilemma I had to solve. Dead to Me exists now. Go watch it if you haven't already. Go check it out, friends. Exists. It's streaming everywhere. Before we get up and out of here, we are coming up on our hour, which is incredible. But we'll probably go a few minutes past it, which is good for everyone else. I want to chat first, I guess, concert photos. We'll start there. Joe, I'm curious. Yeah, so I know that the band stuff happens, obviously, and I think it's interesting that so many band members are involved in other parts of this, which I think speaks to how like cross-pollinated this whole world is. Like, part of being good at a band is understanding what I'm going through as a videographer or a photographer's going through, or what Sean's going through mixing. Like, there is some level of chain twist that will be or has been successful because you understand what everyone else is doing, and that makes it easy to chat with you guys, or when we need revisions, it's easy to talk through that process because like you understand what it is, right? You've been through it internally enough times that when you're introducing me into it, it's not tough. Where does the photo thing start for you then? Where does this journey, does that precede the music stuff? Does that come after the music stuff? Where do these two things go from?
It was definitely after the music stuff started. It was kind of just a way for me to feel like I have something else to do when I'm at a show. Yeah. So like if you show up to a show and you're playing, you're kind of sitting around for a while. You listen to the other couple bands, and then you play, and then you just kind of want to leave, but you feel bad, so you stick around.
Finally, someone honest about it. Yes. So, after you play, you must want to get the fuck out of there. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Get me home.
Yeah, like, get me some Taco Bell,
please.
But brilliant. So I started doing some photography stuff just as kind of a way to like give myself something to do, but also like you show up to local shows and no one's taking pictures. So even if the pictures aren't that good when I'm starting out, like they have something they can use to like promote themselves and post online, give them something. I assume it's also a money thing of like, I'm paying to go to all these shows. I might as well try and make some of the money back. Yeah. I mean, some of it, I think I've maybe done like 2 paid jobs, and they were for like close friends that are like, hey, we need promo pictures for this thing. And the person we were going to do canceled on us last minute. Like, we just need anybody. And I'm like, okay, but you're not paying me for these until like they're finalized and like you're happy and you're perfect with them, and then you're going to pay me. And every other time people are like, hey, can I like hire you to do promos or like come take pictures? I'm like, no. I know a bunch of other people that do this, and like that's what they do. I will give you their contacts, but I want to do it just like I like the way my pictures look, and I like posting them, and I like giving bands something to have to post. I think in the past maybe like 4 years, I've only really taken pictures at Dracula in Holyoke, which is in the building that we shot the video in. Oh hell yeah! Okay. So that venue, it used to be in the room next door, and then they got a bigger space that's upstairs. So most of the shows there are like medium tier, like not huge touring bands, but like we can fit like 50 to 100 people in that room comfortably. Yep. And I'll take pictures there because like I know the people that run the venue, I know the people that run sound. There's a loft over the back of it that I'll take pictures from there to get like weird different angles of them. Yeah. You're selling yourself short. I think they're good enough to sell. I think it's worth, but I also hear you that it's this weird line of like, I don't know,
as you learn something, it's like you don't want it to become real. There's a naivety, there's an ignorance is bliss kind of thing of like, I just want to be a beginner forever. I don't want to deal with the money and I assume it's also what you said is that you like your photos, and I assume what that is alluding to is like, well, I don't want to have someone else telling me what my photos should look like.
Exactly.
And I think that's an interesting game, and yeah, it's a hard balance to find. And I don't know. I feel very fortunate that I think I fell in love with the camera as the camera and the music. Like I fell in love with the camera, the music photography at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that was a privilege of like, I didn't come in caring about my photos. I came in saying, what do you guys like? I'll do whatever that is and I'll figure that out and then go from there. And of course, since then I've refined my own style, my own taste, and figured out what I like to do. But it started from like a people pleasing place, which made it kind of easier than where I think what you're saying is I really like this art. And I don't want to dilute this with bring in other people.
Yeah, I definitely went through that phase too, where it's like, learn how to use a flash so you can get the long light streaks from the neon and stuff in the shot. And like I did that and I learned how to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to learn how to do the next thing with it.
Yeah.
And like my camera did double exposures. So I started doing like, all right, I'm going to only shoot this show with double exposures in black and white on my camera. And that's it. And like learn how to do it, get something I'm happy with, and then move on to the next thing that I want to like make something look like.
Yeah, there's so many photographers who got into it exactly that way of like, I'm at a show, I got to do something. And of course, being in a band is tough. A lot of bands sputter for a lot of different reasons. There can be many reasons things don't work out. And a lot of times it's like, thank goodness I started doing this thing. So it's an interesting like collaboration there of like, you're just in the right room. Like it makes sense to find other ways to do it. I assume it's also starting a clothing line, right? It's like you're on stage, you are free advertising every time you're on stage there. I also assume that starting a clothing line is probably a pretty similar thing of starting photos of like you're printing something. For us, it's photos, but it's like as you're making the t-shirt, Jesus Christ. As you, sorry, mic stand, I didn't mean to do that to you. As you're making the shirt, it's like, fuck, I think this is a cool shirt and I want to wear this, but like, what the hell is everyone else going to think kind of thing. I assume that there's a lot of similar apprehension of like, I want to make this because I want to make this. I don't have to deal with selling it. And it's like, there's a shirt that might sell more, but is that the shirt I want to make more? I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it kind of similar starting process?
Yeah. So Blind Euphoria it's a love-hate thing for me and Ryan at this point. So we started it in 2019 with 2 designs. And I remember texting Ryan too, because we were just like so fed up of like just working stupid jobs. And like for me, I have like a medical condition that kind of keeps me from like working a normal like 9 to 5. And I texted him this long thing, and I was like at the end of my rope. I was like, I can't do this the rest of my life. Like I can't keep suffering basically with like what I was dealing with medically.
Sure.
And I was like, so I texted him this long thing. I was like, hey, like let's stop letting other people dictate how successful we are. Like let's do it ourselves. Like we've always wanted to be creative. Like let's make clothes. Like we love like, or at least design stuff, right? Because like he's the designer, like, and I get very very invested in things very quickly, and I have a very obsessive personality. Like I always want to do that.
I'm very much jump in with both feet or don't jump at all.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're not going to go all in, then don't do it. And we came up with an idea for like a name, which is Blind Euphoria, and we did 2 designs. We're like, let's just give it a shot. As long as we make our money back on these first 2 designs, then like we're fine, right? So we do it. We start selling the shirts. Everything is going great. Joe took some of the photos for us, and again, so in-house of like how we like doing stuff. And then the world ends, and the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden, our little engine that could is just stopped, and it's like, and it really deflated us, right?
Yeah.
But we kept sales going, but like everything, we couldn't really go outside and like take photos and stuff. So it's like everything is like, you know, kind of like
no one has income to buy anything.
It killed our last band, which you know, oddly enough, like that could segue into how CHAINTWIST would have never been born if, you know, the other band had stayed alive.
We've referenced them. It is war.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of thing. I mean, CHAINTWIST is like the evolution of it, because it was the 3 of us and we were missing a piece, and Dan was available and was that piece, and like I mean, the story of CHAINTWIST like starting is like really interesting too in itself. But like with Blind Euphoria, we did that, and within like a couple months, like we made double what we spent on the shirts, and we're like, oh, like technically we're positive, we're net positive, right? Like this is great. Like we could end right here and say we just did it. And we decided to spend all the money we had made on better shirts, like better designs. And I'm obviously not going to name any names.
Yeah, please
I'm
don't.
I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to.
We already did that in the first 2 minutes of the podcast.
No.
I had to cut it out.
So we went through someone that we had went through previously to do the shirts, and we felt like, in this very reputable brand or like company, and we felt like we were being shafted a lot. Something that was supposed to take like a month. It's 4 months in now, and all the excitement, everything we had planned for the second release is now on hold, and we're getting like hitting this person up, and they're giving us weird stuff. Finally, I drive, and again, I won't say where I'm driving to, but it's drivable distance, but it's far, right? And I'm like,
hours,
I'm like, so I just want to drive to this. Don't ship it to me. Let me go see it. And they printed our old designs on the shirts and tried to blame it on us. And then I was like, hey, I have email proof that we signed. And then they're like, oh crap, we got files messed up. Sorry. You guys want to buy these shirts from us? And I'm like, no, we spent every bit of money we had to do these new designs. So it kind of got fixed. It was a whole thing. But after 6 months of like waiting for something to take a month, and every plan, like me and Ryan are very much like, month 1, this is what we're going to do. Month 2, month 3, like we have to have this all like mapped out. We were just deflated. And then this summer we were like finally going to have time to like, because we still had the second design. We're super proud of it. And we've been wearing them. Ryan wore one of the shirts and everything. Sean from Half Heart has been wearing them for us and stuff. And we were getting ready to redo the second launch. And then just life happened. Like July was like the busiest month for any of us, I feel like. And I think we're probably going to aim more for like 2024, which at that point we're like, oh man, we started in 2019 and world ends. We have to wait. Now we finally have it again. And it's just like with everything that happened, so to segue, I guess, starting a clothing company or a business in general is like, it was a huge learning experience for us of setting expectations and being like, if this fails, it's on us. If it succeeds, it's on us. But then stuff coming in to it that like wasn't our fault, and it's like, but we have to pivot on it. But it's like some stuff you just can't pivot on. And it's hard to like, when you lose love for something, because now every memory you have of it is like stress. And it's not like, it's not the memory of like, remember when we just wanted to do something together creatively. And now it's like, remember when we had to wait 6 months to get these things and we didn't know if we were going to get it and stuff. And it's just like, it's rough.
Does that mean you're going to make me redo the pictures?
No.
We definitely wrote like summer 2023.
No, we're going to pivot. But going back to like the photo thing with Joe, if I could, it's kind of funny because it goes back into the Blind Euphoria thing of like, we just want to create everything that we like are a part of. Yeah. So like, I met Joe, jeez, I don't even know how long ago, but like it was a while ago, but he used to take photos for my old bands after we met. He's just like, I'll like just pay for my ticket. I'll come do it. And then it was like, hey Joe, we need a bassist, join the band. And they were like, oh, we don't have photos anymore at shows. And then they're like, so like we've always done it where it's like, oh, we need promo photos. Like, let's just do Joe.
Yeah, let's just set up a tripod.
We need new designs for something. Let's do Ryan. Like the guitar that I use for CHAINTWIST, me and Joe built. Cause like we like to jump into stuff, and it goes back to like he'll never accept money for stuff. Like his photos, like he could do stuff for woodworking, and like he'll never do it because he doesn't want his hobby to become a profession. But like
I've tried it. Yeah, I don't like it.
That's noble. That's the right way to do it.
But the guitar that we use in CHAINTWIST, like for me, is like literally we built it. We built it specifically for CHAINTWIST because we knew exactly what we wanted to sound like. I needed a light guitar that could flip around and everything. And it's like that's everything is like so with clothing, it was the same thing. We're like, I have clothes I like, but I know exactly how I want my clothes to fit. I know exactly the designs I'd want to wear. And it's like everything I do, like I just want to customize it. So it's like if it's not clothing, then it's something else. And it's just like I need to be me, and I need like no one else to have this exact same thing as me. And I don't know what part of your personality that like comes from, but like I have it, I guess.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing the ups and downs of the business, because I think that's a more honest version of what the first 5 years of a business can look like, especially in the past 5 years, and people who also started something in 2017, 2018. And like, I think that's a much more honest perspective. And I don't know, I think it's so easy to look at successful people and be like, oh, it was rocket fuel. And it's like, no, it was probably that. It was probably some version. There's this conversation in my mind that I would like to share, and it's one of those like, can't share that. So I'm trying to figure out how I can like pick my words perfectly. But it was, someone who had just lived their dream and met some people along the way who weren't quite flattering. And it was a similar thing of like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't quite work out the way it's planned to. The fairy tale doesn't quite write the right ending. And I think you're right that it's about picking yourself up. And in this case, it's about finding a printing company that will and kind of cutting your losses here. And it's like, well, this one didn't work out, but someone will. Like this isn't how everyone else works. Like whatever happened here is an exception that isn't going to be repeated. It's about me. Yeah. Getting back up and making it happen. And I think there's a much more noble effort in that than in sitting here. And even in my own business, it's like, it's easy to sit here and be like, yeah, I started in 2016 and it's been up ever since. And it's like, kinda, but I also like, I lost more money than I made in the first couple of years. Like it had issues here. I had gear explode. I had a flash explode at the Palladium one time. Like I'm filming half-hearted, and it's like before I'm comfortable with them, and I put the flash down on Jay's cab to like help them load, and it literally explodes. I have no idea what happened, but like this thing just shoots plastic and smoke everywhere, and it was one of those like, fuck. And it cost maybe $50 by the time when a shoot is $20. It's like, that's 2 weeks of work that just literally exploded on stage. Like, what is this? And like, yeah, it sounds like you guys were burned for more than $50 in this, or $50 more of headache maybe.
Yeah.
But like, that's what it is. That's what starting a business is. That's what learning is. And I think that's I appreciate sharing those. And I think that's as I think about something from everyone, it's like, that's what I'm really hoping to get from everyone. Is like, as we, I talk to people who are successful in some sense, right? Like being in a band, there is a success. It's hard to find, for all that CHAINTWIST hasn't done, it's impossible to get to where you guys are. Like so many of your musical peers have not made it to having 4 guys who care about each other enough to like have music that sounds good, that works in a music scene, they can play shows. Like there's so many people who have a guitar and never get past having a guitar. Yeah. And I think it's because of this. It's because everyone picks up a guitar and goes, I'm going to be in CHAINTWIST. And it's like, no, you're going to pick up a guitar and get fucked over by the first person you talk to. And it's going to take a couple of years before you find the CHAINTWIST guys in the group, people who can make it work. Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I think it's an important thing for even me to keep in mind, where it's like, I don't know, we look back at those as if I'm now done growing. And it's like, no, I'm still a baby in some timeline. Like, I don't know where if my timeline is the 10 years, then sure, I'm halfway through it, but my timeline's my life. Like I'm still a baby in the context of my life, and I'm still going through these ups and downs of getting stepped on by people who I'm trying to make t-shirts with. So I appreciate you. Yeah, I feel that's wise. Hell yeah, little rant there to wrap up the day. What's going on for CHAINTWIST? What do we got coming up here? We chatted about it a little at the beginning. Before we head out, we are just about at our hour, so we'll wrap up here. But yeah, anything coming up for CHAINTWIST you want to talk about? We have Dead to Me that came out. We got the show coming up October 15th in Bridgeport with some bands.
Anyways, yeah.
I probably should cut that, but I'm not going to.
No, leave it in.
Yeah, anything's coming for CHAINTWIST? We got to be working on new music, and I'm for now fully prying as someone who knows truly nothing about what has happened behind the scenes since Dead to Me, basically. But is there anything we can say about anything coming up soon? Is there anything happening in the universe? What's going on in CHAINTWIST world?
Yeah, so the one thing about CHAINTWIST is that we always record multiple songs at once. Even like Dead to Me, I think we recorded. Geez, I don't even know how long ago it's been now. We've been sitting on it, and we recorded 2 songs, and the other one is also sitting, and it will have its release date and stuff. But yeah, that's the one thing about us is like we have so many songs recorded. Like Dead to Me was the next one where like we need to like put everything into it. But its brother song will also be coming at some point once this one gets its time to, flourish and everything. But yeah, the rest of the year, I think maybe there's still a chance for one more single. And then, God, we have so many songs written and ready to record that like, I'm sure there's an EP coming up. Some of my friends in a band from Toronto called Sewn, they want to do a split with us. Everything we had talked about it, like both sides wanting to do it. So like they had a couple songs that they were talking about, and like, we have a couple things in the works, so like that would be something that I would love to do. So like possibly a split at some point, too. So yeah, I think right now we're just trying to focus on shows. So the only like public thing was the video and that, but definitely more songs in the work for sure.
Hell yeah. Blind Euphoria, we said, is growing. It's growing.
It's still there. Yeah. It's
but
it's
in the future, we can expect to see it. Josh, where can we find you online? Where can we find Blind Euphoria? What should we look out for? What kind of links are we What are we looking for? And Joe, you're up next. So start thinking.
Well, if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Joshua X Roy. That's my handle on there. I don't use like Twitter or any of that stuff, but
X.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. It is X. Jesus. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Don't want to insult Elon.
Lord Elon. I'm so sorry. But yeah. So I'm on there. BlindEuphoriaCo.com. That's where the shirts are. Shirts are still up there. We still sell. Like we're still a business. Just like the second drop is like going to be coming soon, hopefully. And then we're Blind Euphoria is also on Instagram. CHAINTWIST on Instagram for sure as well. Check out the new song, please. That's all I have going. Like I said, I'm kind of like a little hermit, to be honest. But
hell yeah,
I'm even more of a hermit usually.
Hermit. What do we got coming up? Yeah, where do people find you? Tell you to say hi.
So the only social media I really use is Instagram, and that's just my name at Joe Vitorino. Good luck spelling it.
It'll be in the description somewhere. I'll help the people out. You're talking to a guy with a name that no one can spell, so I'll figure out a damn way to get people to spell your name. I promise.
But yeah, that's the only thing I really use as far as social media. And then CHAINTWIST stuff.
Yeah. Hell yeah. CHAINTWIST is at CHAINTWIST, I assume.
Yep.
I think there's 1 underscore, maybe 2 underscores.
There's an underscore at the end of it.
Probably a little comment.
Something like that.
Hell yeah. My last little piece here. I've been trying to get people to like and comment on the episodes because I feel like engagement is important and it's such a douchey thing to ask about, but I feel like it's important.
Can I ask then? Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, where's the camera? Like and subscribe. Dan, I know you're going to listen to this. Ryan, you too. You need to comment on this video right now.
As we wrap up here, I like the direct message really doing. It's so sick. I should do that.
Call out people you know watch.
That's pretty cool, and then hope they do actually watch and see. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna be waiting for a text that never comes, and it's like, oh, my bad.
Mom, subscribe. Okay.
Hell yeah, my mom's a loyal fan. Shout out, mom. Dreamwake was here last week, and as we were leaving, they said a word. So for people who made it this far, to comment that word, and I like the idea. So CHAINTWIST, final word as we get out of here. What is the word people comment if they made it this far?
Oh, jeez. Is that the word? Is just
one word?
Give me a word, a sentence, a phrase. Give me something.
You a real one.
You a real one. Hell yeah, Kings. Episode 38 in the bag. Thanks for coming through.